We lived together, we ate together, we fought together, and again had the experience of spending that year with Montagnards. My name is Steve King. I was raised in San Diego, California. I joined the Army in 1965, November. I had one terrible semester of college. Knew that I was going to be drafted, so I wanted to choose. And I joined the Army, went to basic training at Fort Polk, Louisiana, did infantry advanced training at Fort Polk, volunteered for airborne, went to jump school at Fort Benning, Georgia, volunteered to go to Vietnam. So that would be June of 1966. So I was assigned to Advisory Team 27 in Quy Nhơn, and further assigned to a two-man advisory team for convoy security with the Army of South Vietnam. So for the next 18 months, I rode the highways from Quy Nhơn south to Tuy Hoa, and from Quy Nhơn north to An Khê, Pleiku, Kon Tum, Dak To, working with the company commander and his executive officer, helping to improve the security because we were constantly ambushed by Viet Cong and later North Vietnamese. At the end of that 18 months, I volunteered to extend again and was transferred to Advisory Team 31 in Cheo Reo. Almost 18 months, served there enjoyed tremendously working with the Montagnards. Actually, for that first 3 years that I was in Vietnam, that was a high point, those 18 months of working with the Montagnards. From working for 18 months just with the Vietnamese, it was a total transformation because I experienced the difference between the kin, the South people, and the Montagnards, their loyalty, their honesty, their support of the Americans even when they were persecuted by the VC and the NVA. I had the pleasure of getting to know many of the Jarai Montagnards in the Cheo Reo area and Phú Túc and Buôn Blech areas. It became something that I have remembered for these 50 plus years very fondly, and still follow the very difficult story that has unfolded for the Jarai Montagnards in particular. I came home in March of 1969. I had been there 3 years. I was home for 15 months. And then got orders to go back to Vietnam. Oh, wow. And spent all of 1971 on Advisory Team 21 in Pleiku. Worked with a regional forces unit, trying to remember, northwest of Pleiku, that again was a platoon of Montagnards. We lived together. We ate together, we fought together, and again had the experience of spending that year with Montagnards rather than the South Vietnamese. Came home at the end of 1971. That was the last time that I was in Vietnam. I got out of the Army in early 1977, and when I was in Cheo Reo, I had met Jean and Cleo Evans. I was not born in a Christian family. I probably wasn't a very nice guy in those days. What they had done for their life was something that I couldn't reconcile at that time, that they had spent 17 years at that time helping the Montagnards and the Montagnard lepers in Phú Bổn Province. I couldn't put that together in my own mind. Why would people do that? You know? Later on in 1975, before I got out of the Army, I became a Christian. When I got out of the Army, I already had one degree in computer science. I went back to college and got a degree in theology, then went to seminary for 4 years. I served for 25 years as a pastor, and I retired from active ministry in 2000. I lived out in Seattle, started a technology company, led that company as a CEO for 17 years, and in 2017 I sold that company and retired. I'd point backward to my experience with the Evans in Cheo Reo as kind of the turning point in my life. Even though I couldn't rationalize it at the time, it was that question in my mind of why would people give their whole life and live very modestly just to help other people. And that intertwined with the Montagnards was the question I couldn't answer until I became a Christian. And then I knew why.
Yes.
I'm very happily married. I've been married for 20 years.
So, do you remember any Montagnards by names?
Not at this point. When we talked yesterday, you mentioned several that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had Montagnard interpreters. My memory is so bad at this age that I can't remember.
What did you think of the Montagnards when you met them, during the time that you worked with them, and then also before you leave Vietnam?
As I got to know the Montagnards, my feeling was that they were much like the American Indians. In many ways, very primitive, but in their culture, very simple in a good way. They didn't expect society to give them anything. Mainly, they wanted to live with their families and not be bothered. I found them easy to get to know. You never had to be suspicious. So I'm sure you have heard of Doc White, our medic.
Mm-mm.
You ever say anything about Doc White?
We haven't had a lot of good history yet.
Oh, okay. He spent 7 years in Phú Bổn because he fell in love with the Montagnards.
What is his name again?
Larry White.
Oh, Larry White.
And he passed away several years ago. And he would have stayed longer if the Army would have let him. He was a huge advocate for the Montagnards. He loved to go to the Montagnard villages and provide medical care. I think he inspired us in the same way.
He took care of
Now live in northeastern Wyoming.
Pleiku, which was the leper colony. He and other medics would pitch in and go up there and leave dressing and medications with them.
Yeah, I enjoyed going out with him several times on medcaps to the villages. You know, it was always impressive that you never had to be concerned about what you left in your Jeep because the people were so honest they would never steal from you.
Yeah. Even when I was very young, Montagnards, we never had to lock our doors or hide things because nothing was stolen until the Vietnamese came and they started stealing stuff. That's when we started to hide our stuff and lock things up.
Yeah.